emerging through the jungle of floristry. Hi, welcome. So glad you can make it. I'm Nora. This is the flower basket. That's Abigail, who you can't see because she's holding the camera.
Hi.
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 And today we are going to make a wonderful vase arrangement together called Spring in a Cup. Why in a cup, you ask? This will be our vase. I'm so excited. One of my favorite types of vase arrangements. It's nice and small. You can talk across it if you have it at the dinner table, when you and your family are eating dinner together 6 feet apart. Very nice arrangement. Okay, how do we start? Well, the first thing we want to do is put some food in the vase. Here's our flower food. Open up our sachet. 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 Whoa! Oh my god. Okay, sorry. Do not lose balance. We're opening up our sachet using our super duper scissors. And you may notice that I'm using scissors right now. I am a florist, which means that I usually do not use scissors. I usually use a knife to cut almost everything. But for our in-home demo, things that we're doing together, for you and me together, I want to use scissors because that's what most of us use at home, actually, when we process our flowers. And scissors are fine. They're not the best for cutting flowers, but they're not the worst. And they're better than chewing the stems off with your teeth. Okay, here we go. Flower food in the cup. I'm going to add a little bit of water, just plain old tap water here. And before I do that, I'm going to grab my trusty dusty chopsticks, useful for everything, including eating. Am I holding them right? Oh my gosh, yes, chopsticks. You can also use a spoon or chopsticks. And here we go. Stirring in the water. There we are. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Excellent. And for this arrangement, I'm actually going to pull the water up about 2/3 the way up the vase or cup. For some arrangements, I actually like to keep the water a little bit lower, just to keep it a little bit more lightweight, less heavy to carry around. And you also don't really want to drench your stems in a lot of water. However, for this, in this case, because it's such a short vase with such a wide mouth, the stems will kind of pull up a little bit. So we want to make sure that we have enough water, enough food in there so that the stems and the flowers can drink and stay healthy. Alrighty, so there is our flower food mixture. Looks like I have still a little bit of fuzziness in there. I was trying to think of the correct chemical term. Condensate? Condensation? Particulate matter?
Particulate matter.
Particulate matter, there
Yes.
we go. Still some particulate matter in the cup vase thing. However, it's not a big deal. We'll let that be there. Now the first thing that we want to do with our stems, now that we've established our fluid or our food for them, is to create a structure, an armature, armistice, arbitrary, an arbitrary, non-arbitrary armature, or a web, a structure within which the other vase, the other flowers can go. So we're going to use our handy dandy asters. These are really gorgeous, one of my favorite flowers to work with. They come on these long stems, and I break off the little stems from that long stem. And if you get the kit from the flower basket, it'll be broken up for you already, so you don't have to do the very tedious work of pulling each little stem off. And we're going to put these in the cup, not just like that, obviously, but we're going to put these in the cup, shorten them down a little bit, and they'll create the structure or armature for the rest of our arrangement. Now, the reason I like to work at a table is because it becomes a good measuring tool. I actually work with my stem behind the edge of the table. I put my vase near the edge, and that allows me to see how tall I want the stem to be and where I should cut it off for it all to fit. So that's going to be my starting point. Do a nice sideways, a nice angled cut. And again, I'm just using scissors right now. If you want to be all fancy schmancy, excuse me, coming back. If you want to use a very sharp knife, you can. With that, just do a quick sharp cut like that and put your stem in. But honestly, when I'm arranging flowers at home, I use scissors. I think they're safer for home use and really do a fine job. So this is a pretty wide cup, so there's going to be a lot of stems in here to create our armature. Just keep going. And we're going to build these kind of in a circular pattern. You'll notice I'm doing, have you ever worked on ever gotten a flat tire and you live in northern Vermont, so AAA won't come out to help replace your tire for you? I've never had an experience like this. I don't know what I'm talking about, but this might perhaps be a case that happens. So when you do take your tire off and then put your new tire on, or your, what are they called? Replacement tires?
Donut.
Your donut?
The donut.
Sorry, I have an itch. Okay. When you put your new tire on, you want to screw the bolts in, like not all around in a circle, but like top, bottom, left, right, or 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Same thing with arranging the stems in your armature. You don't want to start on one side and go the whole way around, because then it can easily be lopsided. Instead, you want to work kind of across the base and across the base, and then fill in the spots where you see them. And in this example, like right now, I was thinking I was going to put my stem here, but now I have 3 very fuzzy stems together and lots kind of sparse stems together. So I'm actually going to cut the stem down, but put it over here, because I'd like it to be a little bit more balanced. This is a fairly wild arrangement, kind of a loose style, as is typical of all flower basket arrangements. We like that kind of carefree, natural, found in nature look, especially because we're so lucky to live here in northern Vermont, where there is so much beautiful, beautiful nature. So as a wild style, that allows you to have a little bit more flexibility with placing things near each other. You don't have to worry too much about it being balanced, and in fact you want it to be a little bit unbalanced or a little bit loose. That being said, I don't want all of the white flowers on one side. All right, so we're still going. Lots of these asters. And the great thing about these asters is that they have a nice sturdy stalk on the bottom. So they'll really provide a great structure for our other stems to go into, especially when we start adding our rows. We want to make sure that it stands where we put it in and doesn't flop around. Some of you may have seen the Spring in a Cup arrangement that we have on Facebook and on our website. And that one had, oh, I didn't count, but honestly, probably around 50 to 60 stems in it.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty densely packed. And that's what gives it, allows it to have that height. If we had fewer stems in here, we would have to make it a little bit shorter, because it wouldn't have enough strength to kind of hold itself up. And actually, something I really like about this glass and this type of arrangement is that you can see the stems through the glass itself. That was my Vanna White moment there. You can see the stems. Oh God, don't tip over. And I think that I love glass for arranging in. For one thing, I love seeing the stems. I think that's an integral part of the arrangement. I think there's a lot of beauty in seeing what's in there. I'm not a big fan of wrapping vases and leaves, just because I kind of love the structure of arrangements. Off camera, that's my compost pile, by the way.
We do compost here.
We do compost, yes indeedy. And we try to have as little waste as possible. So not only do we compost, but we also make potpourri. So when we clean up our rows, for example, we're going to use some of those petals, we're going to save them for potpourri, which you could also do at home. Oh man, I had like an amazing thought and I can't remember what it is now. What did it have to do with? Me, light, no. Okay, it'll come back to me, I'll think of it. Something amazing. PM me if you can think of what it is. So next up, we're going to add our Alstroemeria lilies. These are sometimes called Peruvian lilies. They are kind of stunning, and they're one of the backbones of the florist, especially now. We have great access to them. They're beautiful, really delicate, but at the same time really long lasting. So they just hit everything for me. I just love Alstros or Alstroemeria lilies. You can Google Peruvian lilies or Alstroemeria, A-L-S-T-R-O-M-E-R-I-A. You can pause and rewind that if you want to spell it. I'll wait.
Or Google it.
Or you can Google it, right? But yeah, and Google will tell you how to spell it, because Google is kind of crazy that way. So anyway, so we're going to use these. One of the things I love about Alstros is that each one has another color in it. So these white Alstros have little pink or burgundy highlights in them. And that's going to really come into play when we add our cherry blossoms and our rose. These really work well to unite other flowers in an arrangement. So if you're thinking about an arrangement at home and you have some beautiful flowers in your garden and you want something to add a little bit of texture or to really unite the arrangement, consider getting some Elstros because they really do well in bringing everything together. And again, one of my favorites. So we're going to set the Elstros just inside the asters. Asters and Elstros. We're not doing this alphabetically intentionally. I think Elstros come after asters anyways. And again, I'm using my scissors to cut the stem, and I want to cut pretty quickly with a nice sharp cut at a 45-degree angle. And the reason for that angle is that you want to maximize the surface area of the stem so that it absorbs the flower food as quickly as possible and as fully as possible. So we were talking about Elstermary lilies, then Abigail got a phone call, so we had to pause. And I can't quite remember where we were. So I'll just talk about Elstermarias a little bit more. One thing that's really neat to know about Elstros is that you can grow them as a perennial in most areas. I'm not sure if we can grow them in northern Vermont. I'm just not even going to talk about this, never mind. They're beautiful cut stems. Moving on. We might have to cut that. But no, we can't cut because that's the whole point of this, is that we're not actually cutting anything unless we get a phone call.
We're just cutting flower stems.
Yeah, we're cutting flower stems. Speaking of which, I got a nice joke from a friend of mine. You know, we're all farmers up here, right? So what do you call a sleeping bovine?
What do you call a sleeping bovine?
Right, cow is like,
I don't know.
bulldozer. You are so welcome. Yeah. So moving on. So you'll notice I'm still doing the thing, going right there, putting the stem down near my cup so that I know how high I want to cut it. That's about there. And something you could do is actually put your finger at that spot there where you want to cut it. Don't cut your finger though. There we go. And adding that in, just like putting on our tire. Thank you AAA for not helping me, but AAA is an incredible service, by the way, not to diss AAA. I really love it and use it all the time. Well, not all the time, just a few times.
You have to in Vermont.
Yes, you have to. Every time you hit a pothole. All right, so here we are. So we have 5 Elstermaria in this arrangement, and they're just all going to go around kind of uniformly around the edge of the base. There we go. And actually, I'm noticing, I'm turning it around, I'm looking at it, feeling where my weak spots are, and I'm noticing as I'm looking at it that there's a few things that are kind of wobbly, so I'm readjusting those stems. And this one looks a little tall to me relative to the other ones. So I'm going to pull this one down just a little bit. And so I'm going to pull it back out again. I always pull out my stems by twisting them like that so they don't catch too much. And there's actually something I should have gotten rid of. See, there's a little bit of extra there on the stem. Mm-hmm. And that you don't want that under the water because that's where bacteria can catch. And it's the bacteria that grow on things like that that actually speed up the age of your arrangement. Cut flowers, of course, will age. They're not going to last forever. Sometimes an arrangement will kind of dry in place, but generally you're going to get bacterial growth on the stems, and that's what causes the flowers to wilt and die. So anything you can do to avoid that will prolong the life of your arrangement, and keeping your stems nice and clean will do that. So this is looking really good to me. I do have some variation in the heights of the stems, but again, this is a wild and natural arrangement, and I think that's fine. I really like it, actually. I love the handle on the cup. I think it's actually a little cheeky, kind of cute.